I'd like you to talk about your ideas or plans to address increased traffic and the inevitable call for more parking that comes with growth.
Well, if we are going to increase population density, I think we need to also, in the moment, in the time of increase, also develop increase in public transportation. I think we can apply a rideshare tax to help pay for increased transportation and off-road alternate transportation, walking, cycling, routes for those. So I'd like to see innovative solutions. Road diets is a term that I'm learning about. And I look forward to developing more of that. But it is at the top of my list, transportation increases, public transportation increases. My neighbors and my family are riders and cyclists, and we need to have safe and clean cycling lanes, walk paths, and other alternate routes. Thank you.
You know, this is something we are debating at the committee level on a regular basis. So if you end up putting a lot more people in a neighborhood like the one down here, what happens when there's nowhere to park? Did I just turn this off? Can you hear me? Yeah. And so what I think the city's done well at is we've adopted a transportation master plan that sets forth goals and sets forth goals for reducing the number of single occupancy vehicles, sets goals for building the infrastructure that will support more transit, more bike lanes, but oftentimes they don't lead to the results that we want. And so we're left with communities with this increased densification saying, for example, in the Proctor Miscue district, did you plan for traffic? Did you plan for more parking? The answer is no. No, we just adopted the previous councils adopted a mixed-use zoning policy that allows people to build up. And so that's something, in fact, today in our infrastructure planning sustainability committee, I mentioned, and I'd love your support, which is I'm going to be asking for funds in the budget to master plan neighborhoods like that neighborhood over there that are seeing the growing pains that come with increased densification. If you look at what we did with the mall sub-area plan, we looked specifically at, look, we know we have to plan for this growth, but we also need to engage the community, listen to the residents, and make sure we address their concerns and build the infrastructure that will support the additional people.
So traffic is near and dear to my heart. I worked for 31 years at the city and rode my bike to work for many of those years. And if you look carefully, you'll see one of my shoulders is lower than the other. And it's because I was hit twice when I was riding my bike. And it was a real jungle 31 years ago when I started riding my bike down to the tide flats to get to work. And it's improved a lot, but we need to keep working on bike lanes and pedestrian and making sure that as we plan streets and redevelopment of arterials, that we're keeping that in mind, because people like me who want to take that option need to be able to do it safely. And I think we've made some progress, but we've got a lot of room to go. Another thing I think that's critical is we need to spend our dollars wisely. The light rail extension is not something I'm a fan of. I think we spent way too much money where we could have had a much greater impact on moving people from where they live to where they work if we'd invested more in buses. And you know, it's unfortunate because if we guessed wrong on those rail tracks, they're going to stay there. And so I think we can make some better decisions when we look at what are we trying to do, not just spend the sound transit dollars, but actually move people from where they live to where they work.
So I love this question. I work in transportation and work with these issues every day. For me, the number one thing when it comes to transportation is connections. Doesn't matter what mode of transportation you take, but if that particular mode doesn't connect, if there's construction on your road that you're driving on, if your bus doesn't connect to the bus you need to get on, you're in trouble. You're not getting to work. It's, you know, at a basic level, ruins your day, right? So it's all about those connections. So when we're building bike lanes, when we're building sidewalks, we need to make sure they connect. We need to make sure our local transit is invested in so that we can get folks on transit as we're growing, as we're building more dense housing. That's vitally important. But we need to make sure that local transit connects with regional transit so that all of those great options that our partners at Sound Transit invest in, like the Sounder train or the bus to the airport, the bus to Seattle, and the future light rail, that all of those things connect so that we can use them locally. So it's all about connections, it's all about networks, and it's all about working together with the community to make sure that we're addressing everyone's needs. I said it before, I'll say it again, we have to talk about housing and transportation together, because if we're putting housing in a place that there's no option other than a car, we're setting people up for failure and we're setting ourselves up for more congestion.
Okay, well, let's break the question apart in two pieces. So first for parking, and if we think of areas that feel like there's a lack of parking, there are some tools that we can use to kind of address that. So we can put time limits on parking, we can have someone actually patrol parking and write tickets to move people through, we can actually have paid parking, right? So we can clear up, we can get people moving through and get more spaces for parking. I don't think anyone wants to move to big off-site parking requirements. I grew up in South Tacoma. You go to Tacoma Mall or lots of those huge on-site parking, parking lots. The stores are way back from the street. People like going to property. Stores are right on the street. It's a nice feel to the shopping district. I don't think anybody there wants off-street parking. Along with parking, I think most of the panels have said it. We need to look at transportation. We need to look at connecting people from where they live to where they work, where they won't use transportation. That's all transportation studies show you have to connect people between the two. So looking at how we connect people from where they live to where they work, getting more jobs here in Tacoma that can then help support people using different modes of transportation to get from where they live to where they work is all part of it. We can't look at parking and growth is separate from, as we said, jobs, housing, and our master plan.
So when it comes to transportation, a friend of mine shared a study from the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency with me earlier this year, maybe it was last fall, that transportation is our #1 air pollutant in the South Puget Sound, and that doesn't bode well for our lungs or our neighbors' lungs throughout Tacoma. We need to look at more options outside of single capacity car transportation. So more like folks have said, bike lanes, safe routes to school so our kids can walk to school in the same fashion. More options with public transportation, innovative ways with public transportation, like the bus rapid transit line that's being put down Pacific Avenue, and just connecting folks from where they live to other parts of the community. My wife and I made the cardinal sin of suggesting to our children that we might move to a different home in the neighborhood, and our now just about 17-year-old son. He was about 12 at the time, and he threw a bit of a fit at that. And I said, well, could you explain for me why you don't want to move? And he said, Dad, we have a bus stop just around the corner. I can get anywhere in the city from there. I don't want to have to walk more than a block and a half to do that. So here we are, 7 years later, in the same house for reasons like that.
This is a very interesting topic, especially piggybacking off of the conversation of more growth and development. I think investing in our infrastructure is going to be extremely important. If we're going to talk about making sure people are walking more and riding bikes safely on our streets, we have to invest in our infrastructure, or else that won't happen. We also have to, when we're doing neighborhood planning, we have to make sure that we are putting people in a position where they could walk to the nearest shop, where they could walk to the grocery store, where they could walk to work even. So, and right now we're not seeing that happen often enough. And I think over time, as population increases, as the city of Tacoma continues to grow, we will put ourselves in a better position to prepare for that, for those transitions. There's like it's kind of a catch-22 or the chicken or the egg type scenario. Do we need to invest in transportation first, or do we need to invest in housing first? I think we need to invest in both. And it's going to be extremely important that we do that, or else we're going to have congested neighborhoods, we're going to have children that are unsafe, and our communities won't be walkable. So I'm a strong advocate for making sure our neighborhoods are more walkable, making sure that our cities and our streets aren't congested with parking, but that's going to take some long-term planning, and I think we're on the right track. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
So, I do believe that we have to figure out our parking situation in Tacoma, especially in the downtown and the Hilltop area. I'd like to see more lax regulations on building more parking in those areas. I'd also like the city work with UW Tacoma to allow the students to be able to park in those the areas surrounding the campus for free, because they've expressed to me that it's really a burden for them to have to continuously go back and forth to paying the parking meters in order to keep them from getting tickets. That can disrupt their learning, that can disrupt their studying, and all other kind of problems too, on top of getting tickets. We do have to make the city more accessible, especially to people who live and work within the city. I'd like to see increased bus routes, increased frequency of times of these bus routes. I also would like to see a bus route that actually zigzags up and down the hills and through the roads that run perpendicular to the hills, making downtown area more accessible to the people who live on top of the hill. Because as silly as it sounds, people who live on Hilltop find it hard to make it down the hill, especially when you're elderly, on fixed income, don't have modes of transportation. So I'd like to see that type of bus route be ran on electric buses and be ran for free. Thank you.